Welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. My name is Courtney Vinson. Prior to the NCAA Leadership Development Pathways program, I wasn't sure of the type of leader I wanted to be. However, after Pathways, I was able to identify qualities that I valued in a leader. For example, effective communication, self-awareness, being resourceful, vulnerable, and having a vision. Since Pathways, I use these qualities and others every day in my career. And because of that, I'm a more focused leader. I have a deep appreciation for the leadership development programs that the NCAA offers. Please enjoy this episode.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 1Q Leadership. Our guest today is Andrew Kearney. Andrew is the Deputy Athletics Director at Nicholls State University. Greetings, Andrew. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me today.
Now, you've been at Nicholls for over 15 years, I believe, right?
Just finished my 15th school year.
Yeah. And you were in basketball coach on staff.
Yes, sir.
And like me, you've been fired before, right? It's a situation where you start thinking like, man, was it me? Was I that bad at my job? Or sometimes it's really just the leader wanted to do what they wanted to do in their position, right? And so,
yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things I look back. I remember going back and looking around. I was living on campus in my bedroom, and you have dating myself a little bit, but stacks of DVDs, and at least they weren't VHS tapes, I guess. And, rethinking I could have done X, Y, or Z and the recruits I thought we had, but you don't always realize it at the time, but later down the line, sometimes things happen. You don't really realize that they're happening for the right reasons.
Yep, which is excellent. So from there, you get into the athletic side, the administration side, tickets, you're a graduate assistant. Now you find yourself as Deputy Athletics Director. Tell me what you are responsible for there at Nicholls.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So I have more of an internal background. I got, a lot of time in compliance. So I oversee a lot of the internal operations, student-athlete services, athletic training, strength and conditioning. And I think as a coach, I got to know a couple of, donors and people in the community that were important to the program. And so when I moved over in my other role, I knew some of them already. I knew in the tickets, I knew our season ticket fan base, and a lot of those people I already had relationships. So I had a really kind of unique situation in which I was in compliance for a while, but I was helping in some fundraising. And so it's kind of a little bit different. And part of it's obviously Nicholls were a lot smaller department than others. And I kind of got to be involved in a little bit in understanding the framework that we all work within. And I was always, one of my areas that was a specialty is sometimes a donor might want to do X, but we can't really do X. But how do we find avenues to still, make them happy and know that they're given to something that they're excited about? So kind of started there. And now our athletic director, Jonathan Terrell, before he really started, we had a really long conversation about kind of where I was and where I wanted to be. I've never really had a conversation with that. It was so open and upfront and honest. Really put us in a really good spot from a relationship standpoint. We're very open. And so I kind of, whatever I need to be and kind of there, and whatever, times he's getting pulled in 8 directions and I try and take 3 or 4 off his plate. So really it's kind of whatever he needs to assist him. I guess probably what the old deputy AD kind of was, it's like so I love it because I get to do a little bit of everything. Still really connect with our coaches. So that's something I never want to lose. It's the one thing I miss is not being a coach, is the day-to-day being around the student athletes. That's horrible. I don't get to do that anymore.
You don't get to do hardly any of that.
No, not much. But baseball team was just in the regional at Corvallis, and I get to travel with them. And I try to take as much off our coach's plate as possible. And so
that's cool.
When I get to do that, you actually get to be around them and you get to know. I miss that. So it's fun. Obviously, that's a really great opportunity for our student athletes. But it's for me as well, because I get to actually be around them. I miss that.
What I wonder, working for someone like the current athletic director, he's comes in with this whole different mentality of what we can do here, bringing a thought process of how they raise money in high schools. Why couldn't we do that here at Nicholls, right? And then expanding that and making it work. Talk to me about that. You mentioned that open conversation, and then you think about creativity over the last year and a half in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, and then you being in that role. Tell me about that and why. It sounds like you feel like that's a good environment to work in for anybody who works in that.
No, I think it's great. I think you can get a lot of industries, offices, departments, whatever it might be, organizations where you're just kind of recycling the same ideas. And so sometimes it's good to pull someone in when they look at things completely different, because sometimes just asking why, and just because that's the way we've done it, it's not a good answer. So working with JT has been great in that. He comes from a very alternative background. He was in medical device sales, had been an assistant football coach, and then had been the president of like football's fundraising group. So he'd been involved, and I never knew what he did. He was always in scrubs. I didn't know if he was a doctor, a nurse. Turns out he worked in medical device sales, but he was always around. And so it's been really good for me because I think we're smaller. From like a resource standpoint, we do not have what other people have. And so I think it's even worse. We can't fall into that, well, this is what someone else does. This is what we do. We have to make sure it fits for us. And so, there's some high schools in our community, in our region that are really ingrained. And so what are they doing? How can we kind of take the best of that? And so that's for me. Try and pull from everyone. This is great. Like I can go to a D2, D3 NAI JUCO session because from a resource standpoint, that might make more sense for us or take something a little bit, and we're a little bit different. We got to try to find ways that can make, what we have work for us the best. And just doing what other people do, that's not necessarily going to give it to us.
Have you seen something when you talk about going to looking at a D3, how they run things? Is there something that you've actually brought to the table and you guys have executed on?
Yeah, so I think it's been interesting because, I can go to we pull like little things from a facility. We've been really lucky. We've had some donors that have been very generous and some legislators we've worked with. But if I go to, here at NACTA, facilities in the Division I, like it might be, we're talking like tens of millions of dollars. We're building a new arena. Well, we're not building a new arena. We're trying to build, right now, 2 separate soccer, softball, actually a third, a baseball field house, a locker rooms. And we're working with construction costs have gone way up. And so how do we can't have multiple rooms for multiple different things. We have to find one room that fits for, others. And so last year, I remember in Orlando, it was just like a little bit different. They approached everything a little bit different because they have to. And so I think that's the biggest thing for us. I think for me, we had a meeting with the architect a few weeks ago about the softball building. And we were like doing things because that's what the architect kind of does elsewhere. And we're like, no, that doesn't work for us.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
we can do this, change this a little bit, make this smaller, make this bigger. And so now this other space can, work from 2 and 3 different roles for us because that's what we need. And I'll be honest, there's probably a lot more schools that are probably going to have to do that now with the current state of economics and where things are going. Yeah.
Were they receptive? I mean, they're going to do what you pay them to do, but were they receptive for that? Or did they try to say, well, over here we did this, you guys might thinking about, or like how are they receptive to the pushback? Like, hey, wait a minute, this is what we need to do.
I think they're good. I think architects a lot of times from I think what we found is that internally they're literally like, this is why, and they can tell the story why, but externally they want to kind of make it shine and look, and so for us, they've been really receptive. It's a group that we've a really good relationship with, and so we kind of tell them why, they understand it, and I think for them, that's valuable when they're kind of working with other clients as well to kind of understand why we want to do things. We have a football operations facility that I think we toured like 6 or 7 different schools, found the best things they liked, the things they didn't like. And there's like one little thing that we would do it differently if we had the chance. And so very, very functional. We know we may have one chance to build that and maybe there for 40, 50 years. So we know we got to get it right every time because, we just don't have those tens of million dollars coming back our way soon.
I wonder, has there been, so we're currently at the 2024 NACTA conference here in Las Vegas, and I wonder, have you seen things that have sparked your interest that you think, this should work with some tweaks back at Nicholls since you've been here? It's only day 1 pretty much, but.
No, I think, so I had the FCS luncheon today. I think there's a lot of people very similar. It's kind of funny, our old athletic director, Matt Roan's now at James Madison, just got the AD job there. And people at times, we used to use James Madison as they think FCS is all the same. Like, no, James Madison's budget's 5 times ours. And so we do have to think about things a little differently. But I think it's a lot of times here when you're talking to people, it's realizing that you're not alone. You're going through a lot of the same things. There are differences. I mean, it's like people in life in general, And so kind of reiterating, you're not crazy for kind of thinking this or we're kind of going about it this way. I think the biggest thing right now is just that sentiment because, like, we're in one place, and I think we all think we're kind of going one way as college athletics, but no one really knows. We're always like one judge's decision away from things being very, very different.
Yeah, that's super interesting. We talked briefly last year, and I wonder, when you talk about 1 year removed from where you were last year, do you take the time to assess growth on a monthly, yearly, quarterly, semester basis and say, what have I improved in, and those types of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest is communication.
Okay.
I'll be honest, probably not always been my strong suit. Yeah. Getting more comfortable with my voice, comfortability, I'm making decisions. I think I try and read and look into and try and get as much knowledge and information. So when we're going to make a decision, we're kind of making what's best for us, knowing because we don't have the margins to work in as much as other people. I think the other is we're really, it's kind of fitting with the FCS, I think it's a white paper that wrote with the picture group. Kind of outlining what the FCS is moving forward is really trying to line across campus in a lot of areas. Not unlike a lot of other places, enrollment's way down. So how are we kind of partnering across campus to give students some more experience in athletics, so you're in the workforce, trying to get, like we're Division I football school of football. It's a big deal, like not everyone has that. We're trying to really sell that as a way that you can get involved, and we're going to try and we've always kind of, because of a smaller staff, we'll have people, when we're making the manifest to go to a basketball tournament, we're going to the dance, and we've had students on there from like a content creation standpoint because we know that we have really good students that are doing that. I don't think you get that opportunity a lot of other places, and so we're really trying to maximize those relationships on campus. Because it gives our student, it's like a selling point is like you can come to school here, you can get this access and this opportunity. Part of it's our the Southlands partnership with ESPN and the broadcast, and trying to get more students those opportunities. So once again, our goal is we're trying to get some of the students in their mass communications department, get them real life experience. So when they go to apply for a job, you may have more experience sometimes people in 1 and 2 years in the job, and you're doing a much more diversified set of your experiences, rather than I could to come and my high wide camera and I'm just turning at midcourt, and so we're trying to give them different experience. So I think that's the biggest thing, is it's really helped. I think our department, but like me, just and communicating with different people, so it's kind of brought all that together, because sometimes on campus everyone's like an alpha personality in athletics, and sometimes across campus that isn't always well received, and so hopefully it's long-term very beneficial for the department as well.
It's interesting because you said for you it was communicating better, right? And because of the nature of the job and trying to create more opportunities for student athletes, that process of doing that part of the job has helped you to learn to communicate better. It was almost forced because I got to talk to all these people. I need to be able to communicate.
Very different backgrounds, and they're all, like all of us, we got our shop, and we have to take care of it and make sure we're protecting it, putting it in the best, place moving forward. So like it's not a lot different than recruiting. And I go back to coaching, because people come from very, very different backgrounds and experiences, and you're getting off a call and then jumping on one with someone completely different. And you're trying to be authentic and genuine and still kind of connect with them as people. And so, it's really similar. It's like I had that, my background. And so, I played basketball, same thing. Really diverse, from a student athlete perspective as well. So I think it's always been there, but it's just kind of realizing kind of how to, what those little things, that can connect with people. And also understanding that, like we talked about JT and our president, we're great, and that they've kind of, they believe in me and allow me to do those things. So,
but where do you? Were you aware that you wanted to improve in communications, or was it since you improved, you're like, oh, I actually have improved? Like, where were you in communications where you felt like, now you feel like you've improved?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both. Like you don't. I think once you get in some things, you don't really realize where you are at times until you're kind of in it. You're immersed and you're kind of treading water and kind of get out of the deep end. So it's partially there, but then I think, like one person that's like, we have all these other people in their department that are good, but there's one person we're trying to get through and just trying to find that connection with. And it's not different than, like meeting with a corporate partner, it's a partnership. And so this is what you all are getting out of it. This is what we're getting out of it, and making sure that we're respectful of that and trusting. And like I said, authentic, I think is the biggest thing. Our community, if you are not authentic, that people see through it like this and you're done, and sometimes you get one chance. So I think that's been really big, like obviously on campus but in the community as well, is that trying to stick with those people and letting them know that this is real. We're not just saying this to say it. And so I think that's part of the reason it's paid off.
This is interesting. I'm sorry I'm leaning in, but this is interesting because initially communication, I thought it was how am I articulating what I need to articulate so that people hear it better. But it's really about how do I understand this person that I'm talking to and communicate what they need to hear so that they understand the value of what I am trying to, for the lack of a better word, sell to them, right? Or understand.
Kind of. Yeah. I think try not to think about it like that.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think you end up in that place where both people are beneficial if that's the case.
That's what I mean, where it's benefit for both parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm bringing to you is a benefit for all of us, and I'm trying to communicate that to you. And
hopefully we can enjoy everything together.
Yeah. No, I think that's excellent, right? I think that's excellent. It's learning how to be a better leader, right? Because you got to get people on board for them to understand how they benefit from the things that you're trying to execute. I think that's the excellent skill.
And I've been I don't one thing that people say about me is like I don't get too high and I don't get too low.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good things in a lot of areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when connecting with people, it's not always.
Yeah.
People want to see emotion. They want to know how you're feeling. And
I'm learning that too. Yeah, I'm learning that too.
I'm kind of a flat affect, and I'm very analytical, and I'm thinking about everything I'm doing. And I'm still trying to like bring all of that, but still kind of showing and feeling comfortable in doing that, and where it's not ingenuine. You're putting on a show. So I think the biggest in another area is that it's showing positivity. Our baseball coach, Mike Silva, we've been to back-to-back regionals for the first time in school history. I think having some of those interactions with coaches, and sometimes we'll have a big staff meeting and hey, just do this a little bit different. It's just it's old, start positive, end positive, little things like that. But then, even making, things, we don't know where things are going. And we're at, where our coaches are last staff meeting are asking about the house settlement, because we're expecting this settlement to happen right before the semester ended. And they're asking all these questions. We don't know. We don't know how it's going to impact us. But, there's some ways you can kind of joke about it and get through it, and staying positive. Because if you just let that wear on you, man, you're going to be out. We got enough challenge as it is to try and get through.
So that baseball coach recommended to you, did I hear that right? Where he was like, hey, start positive and end positive?
Yeah, and I mean, now I don't know if you've ever seen someone gets a new car and you're like, I really like that. I've never seen that before. And you drive around and they're everywhere. It was kind of like that. And I've heard several other people talk about it, you got start something positive, we end on a positive note, or at least something, kind of get people excited about. Like I said, same thing as recruiting. The same thing with talking to a team for him. He's got people from all over. We have one of the most diverse baseballs. It's kind of funny. We're on the plane flying to Corvallis, and I'm stuck with 5 guys, and they're all just speaking Spanish.
Wow.
And you don't get that on all teams, and so it's the same thing for him as a coach. He's having to reach each of those people. I have a bunch of friends that play basketball overseas, and you literally have people that speak 7 different languages. And you're trying to reach everyone, and if no one wants to show up for everything, where it's just this is the way it is. Not only do you want people to be excited to be there. Like I said, we have our challenges, and we can't let Nicholls beat Nicholls. That's something we say all the time. We know there's enough other things we're trying to overcome, and so we're going to try and do little things. Our men's basketball coach was talking at Top Connect earlier today, and JT and I made sure we were over there to support him. There's little things that we can do like that we may not be able to pay you as much as other people. You may have to go get more guarantee money than other people, but we can try and be better people behind there and have your back as much as we can and support you when we. No,
what I appreciate about what you're telling me is that you're still learning, right? And especially if you're coming from a coaching background, it don't matter what sport somebody's coaching, there's something you can learn from coaches. I appreciate that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you think about some of these coaches have been around for a long time, and go back to baseball, he's been JUCO and a scout, and Division I, hosting a regional. And kind of everything in between. And so hiring and working with their head coach is the most important thing we do. They're hiring their assistants, they're setting the culture, protecting health and wellness for student athletes, trying to provide them those opportunities. If you're not having that day-to-day communication with them, but it's the same thing, my parents were teachers, and you should learn as much from your kids as you're teaching them. 100%. So it's kind of kind of everything in my life kind of coming full circle. And if you're shutting kind of some of those doors off, you're not going to learn. And ultimately you're not helping our department, our student athletes, our university, our community. And so not perfect by any means, but try and do my best
to
keep those avenues open.
That's just last question before we wrap. What would Jonathan say about the biggest benefit of having you on his team as the deputy athletic director?
Oh, wow. It'd be interesting.
Now you got to sell yourself, right? Now you got to tell your story.
If I had to guess, dead air, that's not good for a podcast, right?
Don't worry, I wouldn't cut it out.
Okay. So I would say something to the fact of no matter what it is, when it is, I'm there and trying to do what's best for our student athletes.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, based on the conversations we've had.
Yeah, being there, being a resource, being there to solve problems, whatever it is. I think that's excellent. Well, Andrew, this has been an excellent conversation. I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Thank you very much, Tai.
Yes, sir. That's Andrew Kearney. He is the Deputy Athletics Director at Nicholls State University. And, of course, I'm Tai Brown with one question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.